Sacramento, there were two underrated plays that I took a note of in the first quarter from Nick. And one of them was the Kings had a 2-on-1 advantage, and he got back in the picture. He contests Sabonis at the rim, forces a miss, and this eventually led to a Hayward mid-range shot on the other end. What started as a promising play for Sacramento was really like a 4-point swing. Because when I saw that, change of pace happen with Sacramento having that 2-on-1 break, I thought for sure the Kings were going to come on, get a layup or something like that. But Nick Richards got back in the picture, contested. I don't think he necessarily blocked the shot, but he definitely forced Sabonis to make a difficult attempt. And then number two, he makes a kick out pass to PJ off of a roll, which is something that when you look at the scouting report for Nick Richards, that's not in there. Like, that's just such a rarity for him. When he sets screens and when he rolls, he's trying to score. He's trying to catch the ball as close as he can to the basket and go up for a dunk or a layup at the rim. But the cool thing about that play was he made this kick out pass to PJ. He falls over, gets back up, and then he goes ahead and gets the putback dunk. And it just feels like his energy and his presence against the Kings was definitely felt. And again, we say this every game that we talk about Nick Richards, but the offensive glass was huge. 5 offensive rebounds against the Kings. What have you seen visibly from Nick Richards on the court? And I think you had a couple of clips today on Twitter praising him.
Yeah, I mean, I think it has to start with his hands. Him rolling, him catching balls in tight spaces, him getting in the air quickly and just finishing above the rim, dunking easily. I mean, it's just so impressive. And it happens so quickly. I mean, I think that's what's taken all of us aback kind of, right? Is that, Richards always had the verticality, the athleticism. I mean, he's huge. Like it was obvious that physically, the physical profile, he could be an NBA player, but the feel for the game, the lack of hands, he never had Bismack Biyombo hands, but not a guy that you were really looking for on the roll or looking for to throw it to on the block. But man, his ability to catch in tight spaces and finish quickly and finish through contact has been really, really amazing to me. You mentioned the offensive rebounding. I mean, he's a brute force on the glass. And look, it helps him that he's going up against second units most of the time. He can dominate those bigs more so than some of the starting bigs. I mean, we saw him, as anyone probably would, struggle against Jokic. Jokic was able to move him the night before last pretty easily, pin him under the rim. But most players that Richard goes against, he has the physical edge with, and he has exposed that edge most nights this season. I think he's one of the most improved players in the NBA. He won't be one of those guys that you'll look at as for that award, right? But right. But I think he truly is, from where he started to where he is right now. Last thing I want to say about Richards is his. We saw him last night. The second half, he catches one on the baseline where it looks like the possession's going nowhere. I think Maldon pitched it to him. He's got Sabonis kind of stumbling out, not sure if he should close out to him in that short corner or not. Richards just goes right past him with one dribble and hammers it on the opposite side of the rim. It just looks effortless, and it looks explosive night after night. So I think he's solidly a rotational big in this league. I'm starting to really watch him closely. Do we think he's a starting center in this league? Does it change the way that Charlotte looks at their roster building going forward in the middle? I mean, he's been that good this year. It's been Charlotte's greatest story, Richie, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I would say so. Maybe you could argue DSJ is up there too in terms of the storylines, but because he's been injured, he's kind of been out of sight, out of mind type of deal. But Nick Richards has been consistent in terms of game one until now, and he's been relatively healthy. Yeah, I wonder, maybe not a starter per se, but he definitely has kind of put himself in the conversation to play a little bit more minutes. And Mason got into some foul trouble against the Kings, and their minutes were a little bit closer on Monday night. 22 minutes for Richards and 25 minutes for Plumlee. I think he could be a starter on a team like the Hornets this season when they're not necessarily going too far. And I keep saying this. I think that Mason Plumlee is like, it's just a prediction, obviously no intel by any means, but I do think that Mason Plumlee should or could be the first Hornet player traded. I know he does a lot for this offense when, especially when LaMelo was out, when you had to run through him at the high post, and he was a hub that way. And he does set some smart off ball screens. Like, he definitely doesn't get enough credit among the Hornets community, but I would like to see Nick Richards play as a starter role within the Hornets team just to see what he could do. But yeah, he was awesome in that first period when Mason went to the bench. Looking at it now, in the 7 minutes that he played in the first quarter, he was 5 of 8 from the field, 4 offensive rebounds, and he was a plus
Yeah.
16. Or
Yeah.
the team was a plus 16 when he was on the court. So, yeah, I would love to see what he could do with, at least starter minutes. Let me put it that way.
Yeah. Well, on a team that's won 8 games on the
Yeah.
season, I mean, Richards, he's a plus 3.6, total differential on the season and about 580 minutes. This is throwing out garbage time. This is from cleaning the glass. The offense is a tick better when he's on, and the defense is like 3.5 points better per 100 possessions with Richards on. So, I mean, all the numbers tell you that this guy is he is a winning basketball player this season on a really, really bad team. I mean, to be a positive on offense, defense, and obviously net overall on this team with 8 wins, I mean, I think there's something here. And like, development is not it's not linear, right? We've talked about this a lot. I mean, we're seeing it with Malik Monk right now. As much as we don't like it, we saw that, these guys, you don't know when the light's going to come on. You don't know when they're going to get a coach or a system that really fits